Collingwood is up next to be rebuilt, and I think there's actually quite a bit to do here, contrary to popular belief. So stay tuned. This is going to be a good one. Hello everybody, Cooper here. Welcome back to another rebuild here on AFL 26. I hope you're all doing very well. There's, as I said, a bit to do here, mainly because if we have a look at the upcoming contracts or out of contract players for this coming season, there's 18 players out of contract at season's end. Most notably, Elliott, Pendlebury, Sidebottom, Jeremy Howe, and Brodie Myercheck. Honorary mention to Mason Cox as well. So a lot of the last Premiership team is out of contract. And there's a lot of rumours and that kind of thing, which I do try and pay a little bit of attention to, but I also try and sort of try my own thing as well. But I'm going to do something a little bit different with this rebuild. So what I am going to do is in the first season, not so much in the second season, but as partly an experiment, but partly also a time-saving exercise, we're going to go to the calendar and we're going to simulate all the way through September until the 26th of September. And what we're going to do is we're going to simulate through. The AI is going to control absolutely everything that occurs in this first season. And hopefully everything doesn't turn to crap. We're going to see how we go. And hopefully we can have a good run of things this coming season. We finished 5th on the ladder after our first season, 14 wins, 9 losses. GWS actually finished top of the ladder, which was quite interesting. Let's have a look. I have 50 emails. My objectives for this first season were win 5 home and away games and avoid losing 2 games in a row, both of which we achieved, but we have fallen short of winning a premiership, unfortunately. And the reason I know that is because we actually got knocked out in the first week of finals by the Bulldogs. We have a GWS Adelaide Grand Final, which we need to skip forward past, and I believe we have actually passed that now. So if we go back to our fixtures, GWS have won their inaugural premiership, which is really good for them. Who gets Norm? Tom Green does. Very good for him. And Murphy Reid, in his debut season, actually wins the Brownlow medal. A fantastic effort by him. How did his first season go? He got exactly 1,000 disposals, which is absurd. But a very, very good effort. Jack Crisp actually finished second. Very, very surprising, 273 games. Not the fact he's played 273 games, but the fact that he finished second in the Brownlow was the surprising bit. Taylor Walker finished with his first Coleman medal of the year, and Murphy Reid obviously wins his only Rising Star award alongside his Brownlow medal. Darcy Moore does finish as one of the All-Australian defenders. Are there any other Collingwood players here? Myercheck and Crisp obviously did very, very well. But let's have a quick look at the season statistics. We'll see who did well for Collingwood. I'm not really going to pay attention to the league for the first half or the first season of this video. Jamie Elliott led the goal kicking with Darcy Moore, Membry, Cameron, Josh Dacos, and Bobby Hill not far behind. Harry Perryman led the disposals with Nick Dacos not far behind either. 26 goals for Nick Dacos, did very, very well. But I do think there are quite a few bits and pieces that Collingwood need to address in the off-season. First and foremost is Brodie Myercheck probably not going to re-sign with Collingwood. So if we have a look at the players that we do have that are out of contract, Brodie Myercheck being one of them, I think addressing a really, really good key forward is going to be something that we need to address, because we didn't have one when Collingwood won last the Premiership in 2022. They've not really had a really dominant key forward since Travis Cloke. Also, Jamie Elliott probably wanting to leave as well. Scott Pendlebury's not getting any younger. He's going to be pushing 40 soon. Still Sidebottom, you could put him in the same boat. Jeremy Howe also getting a bit older. Mason Cox, he's a bit more of a novelty player nowadays. So it's going to be very, very interesting. There's a lot of uncontracted players, a lot of them the older players that we need to either replace, re-sign, or all of the above. So I'm going to have a look around. We've got about just under $6 million to spend. Free agency is always very interesting in the first season, mainly because we generally sign all the same kind of players. We've got 4 main free agents, which we've already addressed. Jack Silvani is probably going to head to St Kilda, but was rumoured to go to Collingwood, so that could potentially be an option for us. But I'm going to have a look around in free agency and the trade period. What draft pick do we have in this year? We can't see just yet. But if we finished in 5th, that would mean we get the 13th pick, I believe. So first off season, we'll see how we go, and hopefully the off season will be kind to us. And with my business in the trade period done, I'm optimistic that we're going to be better next season. Although some of the trades that I have done could go one of two ways. I'm going to start with a fairly straightforward trade that we did do. Bobby Hill, Tom Mitchell, Ed Allen, and the 32nd overall pick heading to Freo for their first round pick, which is pick 11. Bobby Hill, not the most happy at Collingwood right now, so I decided to send him back to Perth, where he is from, along with Tom Mitchell and Ed Allen, who are both Western Australians, in order to get a first round pick, because there is a key forward who plays for the Suns, who's probably not going to leave in real life, but his name has been floated around here and there, and it is Jed Walter. Now, Brody Myercheck, Jamie Elliott, pick 11 and pick 12 might seem like a huge price to pay for Jed Walter, but we've got to remember he's like 20 years old. The other two players that we traded are in their 30s. Think of them as just signing as free agents, and we traded for Jed Walter with 2 first-round picks. That's basically what the deal is. We then taken another risk on another key forward in Jamara Ugle-Hagan. We sent 4 players over to the Western Bulldogs who aren't really in my plans, but they are young enough that they can still become something for the Bulldogs. My next trade was sort of a out-of-contract players that probably are going to retire / didn't want to re-sign with me trade. So we sent Will Hoskin-Elliott, Mason Cox, Billy Frampton, pick 56 over to the Eagles for pick 42, which we then flipped along with a future second rounder to Melbourne for Stephen May, because I just realized we only had 1 key defender on the list. So I think we're actually looking a lot better. We also did sign some free agents. We picked up Tom Cole from the West Coast Eagles, Todd Goldstein, who's basically going to be our backup ruck, going to take the Mason Cox role, as well as the man with 1,000 teeth, Jake Melksham, who's going to fill the Jamie Elliott role, and then Jason Johannesson from the Bulldogs. We lose 1 Norm Smith medalist, another one takes his place. So all these deals are fairly short term, apart from Tom Cole's, who's a 3-year deal, but also relatively inexpensive. I like the business that we've done. We've still got cap space to spare, as well as our first round pick that we can use next year, should we need it. And before we head into the draft, as always, we've got to run through the players that have changed teams. Oscar Allen's off to St Kilda. St Kilda have opened their checkbook and they've just said, here, Oscar Allen, blank check, write your number, come join us. Callum Archie's off to Port Adelaide. Petruccelli's off to Essendon from the West Coast Eagles. So the Eagles losing it big time right now. Jack Buckley's been traded from the Giants to Freo for pick 31 and Corey Wagner. Patrick Voss is off to Melbourne for pick 27. Josh Weddle has been traded for a first round pick. These are all of our deals. Dylan Moore is now off to the Adelaide Crows from Hawthorn in exchange for pick 17. Sam Walsh has been traded to St Kilda. So again, another checkbook signing for the Saints for pick 4 and pick 23. Jack Bowes is to the Bulldogs for Ryan Gardner and pick 39. Connor McDonald has been traded from Hawthorn to the Bulldogs for pick 13. So the Bulldogs getting busy in the trade market already. Noah Answorth is off to GWS for pick 31. John Noble, who just arrived at Gold Coast, is now heading over to the West Coast Eagles for pick 20. Michael Frederick's been traded to Essendon. Riley West has been traded to the West Coast Eagles for some reason. And then Elijah Hollands has been traded alongside pick 23 for a future first and pick 46. And our first pick comes in at pick 55. I don't expect us to do too much here. Basically just mature age options, because anybody that's worth anything probably not going to be available this late in the draft. But we are going to take Maximus Munro just on name value alone, and he's got a little bit of potential. So why the hell not? We then enter the draft again at pick 59, and we're going to take Michael Selwood, I meant, not Mitch Selwood. That was my mistake. And I think just for comedy value alone, we're going to take James Battersby. For those of you who don't know, he was the captain of Sturt for this SANFL season. He didn't get picked to the grand final, so he quit the club. So just for comedy value alone, we're going to draft him here. Welcome to Collingwood. And our goal for this coming season, I believe, is just once again win the Premiership. Collingwood are very much in their Premiership window. And I can't believe I actually haven't mentioned the Dacos boys right now. I've been recording for 32 minutes. The video won't be up to that length at this point in time. But I've not actually mentioned the Dacos boys just yet, I believe, unless I pointed out their stats earlier on. But we've got St Kilda in our pre-season game. Should be a very interesting contest. Obviously, it is just pre-season, but from here on out, I will be picking a proper functional team, and this really needs to be fixed. I'll be back in 2 seconds. And I think I've put together a pretty handy team. We've got Jeremy Howe in the back pocket, Stephen May at fullback, Maynard, Quainer, Darcy Moore, and Dan Houston. Very solid backline with Jack Crisp, Nick Dacos, Scott Pendlebury, Josh Dacos, Harry Perryman, and Darcy Cameron, as well as Jordan DeGoey, Jamara, Steel side bottom, the man with 1,000 teeth, Jake Melksham, Jed Walter at full forward, who's also going to be backup ruck in this one. Todd Goldstein didn't quite make the final 22. Lockie Schultz, Tim Membry on the bench with Lipinski, Tommy Cole, Johannesson, and Bo McCreary as the sub. A very, very strong team. Fan satisfaction down at 43%. That is going to be up, I'm not sure by how much, but it will be up by the end of the season. I can guarantee it. We win by 6 points in pre-season. Jake Melksham with the 3 votes did very well. 5 goals to his name. And let's see how we go in opening round up against the Giants. We are going to now schedule our interstate travel because we go interstate not that frequently. So this should be very, very nice. We're going to go same team unless we have this horrible run of form. But we start off the season 1 and zip. Very, very happy. Dan Houston gets the first 3 Brownlow votes of the year for us. Jamara with 3 goals on debut. Very happy with how this is looking. And then we got the Crows in round 1. We'll have a quick look at that game as well. They do have something of a rivalry happening at the moment. And they belt us by 67 points. Wow, I was not expecting that. Very, very surprising. I will continue the simulation from here. I just seen that Perryman had 48 disposals. And I'll meet up with you guys in September. Okay, quick confession to make. I've just gone through the mid-season draft. I am not making this up. St Kilda are stupid because they did not re-sign Nasiah Wanganeen-Miller halfway or at the end of last season. So we picked him up in the mid-season draft. So I guess Isaac Quainer, I'm very, very sorry. But Wanganeen-Miller wearing the number 99 is going into our lineup. Where am I going? List management. We want to go to drafts. And then mid-season draft. We had the only pick. And Wanganeen-Miller was there. I am not making this up. This is so bizarre. There was also Marcus Windhager, who also didn't get re-signed, as well as a few other players. But Wanganeen-Miller are clearly the best player available. This might be the weirdest thing that I've seen in a rebuild, and we lose our first game back to Brisbane. Very, very annoying. But Wanganeen-Miller, 27 disposals and 2 goals off of half-back. This rebuild just got more interesting. We're hitting our stride at the perfect time. We've won our last 6 or 7 games, doing very nicely. And we're actually tied for the top of the ladder, all the way down in 4th, just on percentage, unfortunately. But we've got Freo over in Perth as our qualifying final. We get the double chance, which is lovely. And I've just seen that Jed Walter finished 4th in the Coleman. So that is a good recruit. Jack Gunston with the 43 goals led the way. Murphy Reid might be going back-to-back in the Brownlow. So another thing to keep an eye on. But let's hopefully go through this semi-final. I can't believe we got Wanganeen-Miller. That's so stupid. Hopefully we get through this semi-final in one piece. Oh, God. Okay, not good. Not good at all. We got absolutely smoked by Fremantle. But now we've got a semi-final game against, I don't know who, Hawthorn. The ceremonial Jack Ginnivan Trophy. We'll leave everything as is, as I basically have done for the entire season. We don't go out in straight sets, despite a best on-ground performance by Jai Newcomb. Brandon Maynard with the 3 goals. Pendlebury with a vintage performance, 38 disposals. Now we've got Geelong in a prelim at the MCG. Although it is a Geelong home game, I still like our odds. And we lose, unfortunately, by 52 points. Jai Clark, of all people, finishes best on with 48 disposals. and Fremantle win the grand final in the end, with Murphy Reid getting best on ground honours. So adding to his Rising Star Award and Brownlow medal, he's now got a Norm Smith medal and a Premiership. Incredible first 2 years in the AFL, and he finishes second in the Brownlow not once again, but first and second, not a bad start to your career. Jack Gunston, I forgot to say Jordan Dawson actually won it. Jack Gunston with the 43 goals. Jed Walter, we'd already mentioned, had a very good season. And then in the All-Australian team, Stephen May, Jeremy Howe was very good. Jed Walter, Josh Dacos, very good as well. But now we've got to have a look at our uncontracted players for 2027. The main one I want to bring back, obviously, is Darcy Cameron. Very valuable ruckman, one of the best rucks in the AFL. I'm comfortable letting everybody else go, even Tim Membry. Our key forwards are basically fine for the upcoming season, so I'll probably look to trade him, because I still think he has value around the AFL. Not sure who to, though. Might be something we have to think about. But Darcy Cameron, I'll try and put a contract together for him. And I think the one position I do want to strengthen is, I know we had Todd Goldstein, but a proper backup ruckman would be fantastic. I might just quickly put a deal together for Darcy Cameron. We'll put together a 3-year deal. Hopefully the money is decent. He wants 1.3 million bucks, or 1.13 million bucks. It's fine. I'll give it to him basically because he is that good. And perhaps another thing to think about is that some of our best players are getting older. So obviously Pendlebury, he's still very good, played week in and week out. Still getting, I mean, he's not getting any under. I have no idea how old he is at this point, but he's been in the league for over 20 years. Not Pendlebury. Side bottom, be getting very close. So just got to keep an eye on those guys. And obviously, Wanganeen-Miller was a blessing in the mid-season draft. So hopefully we can, I think, back up ruck, just fill holes in the rest of the list. We've got a bit of money to spend. Should be okay. I'm not going to go too nuts in free agency or the trade market. Just filling a few holes, and that'll be that. Another very interesting trade period. There was actually a bit more action than I did anticipate, because we did have a few salary issues, but I believe I have resolved them now. Our first trade was sending Tim Membry as well as 3 younger uncontracted players off to the Sydney Swans. I believe one of them was contracted. I can't remember who it was. This is basically just the Swans doing us a favor. We only take a 2nd round pick in the future for all of those players. I didn't want to take too much from the Swans, so I basically did this deal. And the next deal is also a goodwill gesture for St Kilda, as we really just did not deserve to pick up Nasiah Wanganeen-Miller. So we sent Dan McStay, I think it's Ned Long, I believe, as well as Bo McCreary, as well as the 15th overall pick in the draft, which is our own, for their future first and a future 2nd round pick. We've also picked up Murphy Reid in the trade period as well, and it really didn't take that much. I was actually quite surprised. He doesn't have as much potential as his performance would indicate, being a Brownlow medalist and now a Norm Smith medalist. But we sent Lipinski, DiMattia, Jath, and Munro, Maximus Munro, who we picked up in the first draft of the season, of the video I should say, for Murphy Reid. And then we sent 2 future first rounders to the Adelaide Crows for Worrell, who's going to be playing as probably 2nd main key defender behind Darcy Moore, and then Stephen May, who we picked up at the end of last season. He's going to be 3rd choice as he's getting older. And the 2 picks, obviously one is our own for next year, and the other one is St Kilda's pick that we just picked up. So that was all the business that we did in the trade market. But we also signed 3 free agents, the first of which was Switkowski from Freo, as well as Banfield from Freo. 2 small forwards who can do a bit of business for us, and Jared Witts, who used to play for Collingwood back in the day, as our backup ruck. Now, we've addressed everything that we've needed to. We've still got a few uncontracted players, Goldstein, Donegan, and Oscar Lowe. So we're going to wave goodbye to them now, and hopefully they can find new clubs before the start of the new season. We enter the draft at pick 48. There shouldn't be a lot of business for us to do in the draft. Marcus Windager is still here, so we are going to take him with our first pick. I'm sort of turning into Geelong here, just finding players that can just contribute right away. I don't expect these players to play a whole lot as we pick up Max Hall there. But Ryan Marich, another one who used to play for West Coast, a very young player, 22 years of age. Blake Laidler, I feel like I've picked him up a fair bit recently. Let's see who else is here. Darcy Tucker, recently been delisted by North Melbourne. Mitch Nevitt is the next selection, and I think the rest of the draft, I can see that Oscar Ryan is available, as well as Cale Guerin, I believe is how you say his name. But I think Blake Laidler's the obvious pick here, 87 to 94 potential. I don't know why he always gets delisted, but this is basically the strategy. Go to the mature age section, see who's there, and just find the best players you can. We get a good win over Sydney in the pre-season, and it was actually looking pretty ugly for a while. Swans were up big in the third quarter, but we come back, get the win by 3 points. Nick Blakey gets best on. Nick Dacos was a bit quiet last season, but hopefully can have a better performance in the 2027 season, as we are going to encounter Freo for our first game of the year over in Perth. So it is the Murphy-Reid Revenge Series, as well as Banfield and Switkowski. And what a lineup this is looking like. And we've done well. We've got Dan Houston, Josh Worrell, Jeremy Howe, Josh Dacos, Darcy Moore, Naziah Wanganeen-Miller, Jack Crisp, Nick Dacos, Sidebottom, Scott Pendlebury, Murphy-Reid. How many games has Pendlebury played? 454. Jesus. Darcy Cameron in the ruck. Jordan De Goey off of half forward. Jamara, Lockie Schultz, Sam Switkowski, as we said, Jed Walter, Bailey Banfield, then Jared Witts, Harry Perryman, Stephen May, Maynard, and Jason Johannesson as the sub. If we don't win every game this year, I don't know what we're going to do, because this team is outstanding and we dominate over in Perth. 83-point win with Nick Dacos getting the best on ground. Let's go through to September once again. Surely we are going to be finishing on top of the ladder. We finish second on the ladder, but we've got a home qualifying final up against the Adelaide Crows. Jed Walter wins the Coleman medal, does very, very good. Bailey Banfield's actually in second, and that's not Darcy Moore, that's Dylan Moore, so calm down. We haven't got the leading 3 goal kickers in the Coleman medal. We've got both of our season objectives. No, we don't have both of our season objectives. Unfortunately, I know we got the first one, we didn't get the second one by losing 2 games in a row. Let's keep the team exactly the same. Surely this team is grand final worthy, and we lose to the Adelaide Crows, who kick 11 goals to 7 in the second half. Phil Thorpe kicked 5, was very, very good. And we've got Freo in the semi-final. Of course it's Fremantle. If there's any team to break our heart, it would be the Fremantle Dockers. I'm going to break something. How did we lose to Freo? We took 3 of their players, and we still lose by 6 points. I do not understand. Fortunately for us, Fremantle don't win the grand final. In fact, they don't even make it, as the Adelaide Crows win their 3rd flag in club history. Rory Laird, with the best on ground, did very, very well, but a very disappointing end to the season. What was a very, very dominant performance. Darcy Parish wins the Brownlow medal, not a sentence I thought I would say. Murphy-Reid did get the most votes for us, but with Jed Walter winning the Coleman, Bailey Banfield, as I said, did very, very well. No rising star performance for us. Darcy Moore, once again, centre-half back in the All-Australian team. Jed Walter on a half-forward flank of all positions, and Murphy-Reid on the bench. And this off-season, it is basically more of the same. Let's just keep our players on the books that we do want to keep. Anybody that is wanting to leave, we can obviously let them leave. And we've got a lot of players that we need to try and re-sign. Jordan De Goey starting to decline, although Lockie Schultz, Pendlebury, and Melksham are still holding form. So I'm going to have a look around, see what we can come up with. Obviously, with even Jason Johannesson is in decline now. We picked up Joel Amati in the mid-season draft, but never really played him. But we might need to find a new home for Jordan De Goey. But we've got a bit of money to spend. Hopefully we can spend it wisely and plug a few holes in our squad. It was a more turbulent off-season than I probably would have hoped for, but I still think it was successful. You can see that we only have 24 players on the books right now, and that's because we actually got rid of more players than we actually brought in. because I'm going to be relying on the national draft and the rookie draft to back up the rest of our roster. But I've really focused on our best 24. And I think I've come up with some pretty good solutions. We only brought in 2 players, one via free agency and one via trade. And it's Chad Warner and Harley Reid. I'm very, very happy with what we've done. Very, very long contracts for the 2 of them. Very, very expensive also. I've had to rejig a few things. So Darcy Moore, I did give an extension to, but obviously that first year is way, way down on the salary front. So if we have to get to 2030, I might be in a little bit of trouble. We also give Nick Dacos an extension, which was very, very lucrative for him. I was actually looking for Josh Dacos, but it was Nick Dacos, I promise. He got a back-ended deal very, very similarly. I doubt we're going to get to 2036, but I'm very happy with the business that we did do. And we'll have a quick look at the trades that we did. The first of which was sending Jack Crisp and Jordan De Goey along with pick 36 to Richmond for pick 20. We used that in a later trade with GWS. Joel Amadi, who we picked up in the mid-season draft, I believe it was, and Marcus Windhager, we got for pick 16, which we then forwarded to West Coast for Harley Reid. We also got a future first from Essendon, a future second from Brisbane. We also got GWS's first round pick for which is pick 12 in exchange for 20, 33, and Michael Selwood. We then sent 4 first rounders over to West Coast for Harley Reid. We dumped Braden Maynard over at Port. We dumped Stephen May over at Brisbane. And Isaac Quainer also went to Geelong for their first round pick, or a future first round pick next year. So as I said, the off-season was very, very turbulent. We're actually entering the draft at pick 31. So still have a second round pick to use. Oscar Ryan is the best available player according to my suggested list, but I'm actually going to take Tom McCarthy at a discounted deal. He can be my Isaac Quainer / Braden Maynard backup, sort of halfback flanker. And then we go all the way down to 66, and we have 14 other players that we need to draft. This could take a while. And this is going to be the lineup for the upcoming 2028 season. We got Houston, Worrell, Laidler, Dacos of the Josh variety, Darcy Moore at centre half back, Naz, Warner, Dacos of the Nick variety, Pendles, who's probably going to bring up his 500th game at some point this year. Can't believe he's still an 87 overall. Harley Reid, Murphy Reid, Darcy Cameron, Sam Swikowski, Jamara, Lockie Schultz, still side bottom in that forward pocket. He's just ticked over 400 games last season. Jetty Walter, Bailey Banfield, and then Jared Witts as our backup ruck. Jeremy Howe, Harry Perryman, Tom McCarthy with Ryan Marich as the sub. Our team isn't as deep compared to some of our previous seasons, so hopefully we can get off to a good start over in Perth up against Freo. We don't, unfortunately. Nick Dacos does get the 3 Brownlow votes though, so that is a decent start. Hopefully we can do a little bit better in round 2 up against the Tigers. Much better, 89 point win. Murphy Reid with the 3 votes this time. 44 disposals and 4 goals. Yep, fair enough. And now we've got the Chad Warner revenge game. So we're going to simulate this one as well. But after this one, we will meet up once again in September, hopefully to secure a grand final berth. And we're actually up by 87 points at halftime. Ended up only winning by 70. But that is an outstanding, outstanding performance. Darcy Moore with the 6 goals. Murphy Reid might be on track for another Brownlow. Weird series of events. Jed Walter has won his back-to-back Coleman medal. That's not the weird bit. We're up against the GWS in a qualifying final. That's not the weird bit. The weird bit is that we're on top of the ladder and we're actually on a 22-game winning streak. The only game that we lost was round 1 up against Freo, I think it was, in Perth, and they didn't even make the finals, which is hilarious. So we are in red-hot form. If we do not win a premiership this year, I think I might cry. Anyway, GWS in Melbourne. We haven't changed the team all year, so I'm not going to change it for the rest of the year. This should be fairly fine. We're actually down by 40. Oh my God, we were down by 35 points at 3/4 time, and we kicked 12 goals to 3 in the final quarter to win. That is absolutely ridiculous, as Nick Dacos got the best on ground with the 39 disposals. Who is waiting, or we are waiting for someone in the prelim final. Who's it going to be? It is Brisbane, who finished in 7th. If we lose, I don't know what I'm going to do. But we win by 56 points. Collingwood are grand final bound. Bailey Banfield with the 5 goals. Harley Reid and Murphy Reid had 71 disposals between the two of them. Outrageous performance. Let's get into the granny. And I realised what I just said, and I deeply apologise for it. But we've got Carlton in the grand final. Rematch of the 1970 grand final. Very, very famous for that Carlton comeback. I think it was a 40-something, 44-point comeback, I believe it was, from halftime. But a very, very interesting turn of events. Riley Philthorpe is on 52 goals. Jed Walters on 51. Obviously, we need to kick 2 goals to pass him. Walters actually got the most marks in the competition this year. That said, we have got Carlton in the grand final. I've got to change the minutes. But what grand final Guernsey are we going to wear? Is there anything sort of super nice that we can wear? I do like this one. And you got to go with the Sturt Blue for Carlton in this one. But final lineups for this season. Dan Houston in a back pocket. Worrell, Laidler, who's up to an 85, is doing very, very nicely. Joshy Dacos, Darcy Moore, Naz. Darcy Moore's down to an 80, which is very sad. Pendlebury has actually gone up to an 88, which is hilarious. He's now 30. It says he's 37 years old, but I'm pretty sure he's 37 in real life. Warner, Dacos, Reid, Cameron, Swikowski, Jamara, Lockie Schultz, steel side bottom, Jed Walter, up to a 94. What a trade that's been. Very, very happy with this team. But let's see how we go. We should be fine, but fingers crossed the Magpie Army and us don't get the collywobbles. And we've got a beautiful afternoon in store. It's clear skies, a little bit of wind. Should be very, very lovely. Patrick Cripps still on Carlton at this point in time. It'll be interesting to see who else they've recruited over the years. Wiedering still there. Jagger Smith has developed nicely. Tom De Koning is still there. Darcy Jones, Charlie Curnow. Jack Silvani still there. So not too dissimilar to the side that they have in real life. Obviously with a few trades here and there. But our team is very, very different. Probably for the better. As we've really struggled to make a grand final in this game so far. In this video so far, I should say. But let's go up against Carlton. Let's prove to them why we are on a 24-game winning streak right now. And we're flying up the race. Houston, Worrell, Laidler, Dacos, Wanganeen, Miller, and somebody else, alpha halfback, who I've forgotten about. But we're looking fantastic in this preseason Guernsey from, I think, 2001, I think, was the year that it was listed as. What a stacked team this is. This is going to be a fantastic grand final. Woo! Awesome work, Michael Voss, Patty Cripps. And then we got Fly and Darcy as well. And who's got the call of the toss? Carlton have won it. And they're going to kick to the left of screen. After Collingwood, we've got actually two rebuilds to go, technically speaking, because we've got Brisbane. And then we have got Port Adelaide, who I am leaving until last. Jetty Walter couldn't take the mark at full forward, wearing that famous number 5. Obviously, Nathan Buckley and Jamie Elliott more recently, and still side bottom. Can't take the mark in the pocket. And Pendlebury also, his old mate. In amongst it early, Josh Dacos at half forward. Harry Mackay still on Carlton. I'm amazed about the lack of moves that Carlton have done in this video so far. Down the line, Switkowski and Adam Sard. We played on. We probably shouldn't have. Jamara and Jacob Wiedering. Good tackle by Jamara. That's holding the ball. Let's just send it to Big Jed. Carroll. And Jed Walter takes a fantastic mark. For the first of the grand final, kicking towards the Ponsford stand. Excellent kick. And it's been a perfect start in this grand final. Obviously, almost gave away a free kick in the middle of the ground, but we're doing very, very well. Williams kicking forward. We need a spoil. Bring it down to ground level. We've got numbers. We get it clear. Blake Laidler clears it very nicely. Lockie Schultz and Nick Newman. Obviously familiar with Nick Newman's work in our Port Adelaide series. Nick Dacos sends it forward looking. I didn't actually see who that was. Believe that's Bailey Banfield. Long left footer. It's offline though. TDK in the back pocket for Carlton. It's not a good kick as Wanganeen Miller intercepts. Long ball. Steele side bottom and brackets. Brackets McGovern couldn't take the mark. And Steele side bottom, who's got to be about 450 years old at this point, lining up for his first. It's offline. Darcy Cameron leading this ruck division so far at Collingwood. He's been here the entire video. Intercepted by Pendlebury. Nick Dacos kicks it out in the full. Now Carlton on the rebound. Motlop has it a half forward in front of Houston. We need a mark. We get it via Josh Worrell, who takes it in front of Charlie Curnow. But it's been a good start. Not so much in front of goal. We could be, easily 2 or 3 goals ahead at this point. But we're still winning, which is the main thing. Harley Reid just stacks it forward. Straight to Nick Dacos. That's a ball up. Contested footy has been good so far by Collingwood. We get another clearance, this time to Murphy Reid. The handball's not good from Harley. Josh Dacos giving chase to Lucas Camporelli. A couple of father sons. Nick Dacos wins out. Back down to Walter, down the line, has the size advantage and takes it. For his second and Collingwood's second. Let's see how this kick goes. Just outside that right goalpost. So a 9-point lead early in the piece. Nick Newman, what are you doing, son? Just chip it over the top and we'll put it through. Very easy, very simple. But we get another goal on the board and it's courtesy of Lockie Schultz. Carlton get it clear this time now with Harry Mackay. Sending it down the line, looking for Charlie Curnow. The Coleman medalists linking up with each other. And Curnow's going to have Carlton's first shot on goal. Not a bad kick. Just sneaks it in. Carlton are on the board. Ball getting cleared by Collingwood once again. Pendles sends it down the line. Walter sitting under it. Another contested mark. I'm actually going to go around the body this time. Carroll just cannot deal with Walter in the air. And he puts through his second. Active hands around the contest right now for Collingwood. Murphy Reid misses the ball completely. Now with Jamara, just panics the handball a little bit. Steele side bottom now. Handball's backwards, but it's all good. Lockie Schultz trying to get boot to ball, does in the end. But it just finds a Carlton jumper. Josh Dacos sends it forward, looking for a target, and it finds Switkowski, who he picked up from Fremantle in free agency. And for some reason, I thought he was a left footer. I confused him with Bailey Banfield, so I lined up as a left footer, and I've missed it, unfortunately. But it's now a 16-point game, and there's still a lot to play for Carlton in this one, obviously. It's only the 3 goals that they're behind by. But we're almost at halftime, and you'd have to say we've been the dominant force so far. But we've got one more forward entry before halftime, and guess who? Jetty Walter has marked on the halftime siren to put a third through for Collingwood. That looks tight, and he's got it! And you'd have to say that Jetty Walter, for his first half performance, is the favourite for the Norm Smith medal right now, because he has been absolutely astounding. Obviously, this team is astounding, but when you have a key forward as good as Jetty Walter, good things are going to happen for you. Obviously, a 2-time Coleman medalist in this timeline, as Naz takes the mark at half-back, but a very, very valuable contributor as Jamara, who his performances haven't really been shined upon. That's probably insufficient intent, and it is. But as I was saying, Jamara's performances really haven't been shined upon as brightly as those of Jetty Walter. We might be able to get Jamara some footy here. But Walter just sends it towards the goal line. Banfield takes the mark. Now this time he is a left footer, so we are going to take the kick, go around the corner. And hopefully we can just swing this back beautifully. Expertly done by Bailey Banfield. And this is getting ugly for Carlton. 28-point game. Harley Reid gives it to Pendles. Sends it long. Jetty Walter, surely not another contested mark. This time Carroll intercepts, does a good job. Little short ball, bounces first. Bailey gets wrapped up. And that is holding the ball. Josh Dacos, Jed Walters all by himself out the back. But I didn't want him to mark that. Doesn't matter. Josh Dacos just sends it from outside 50 and gets one on grand final day. Jagger Smith with the clearance for Carlton. And Blake Laidler just stands up strong, takes a good mark. Wearing to go, he's number 2. Big fly from Harley Reid. Can't take the mark though. But Pendlebury picks up the pieces once again. Little ball over the top. Was looking for side bottom. Couldn't find him in the end, but it's a good tackle. Side bottom does well. Harley Reid's in space, and that's where we're going to go. We'll get Harley Reid a shot on goal. The weather is being fairly friendly in this one. So let's just have a launch from outside 50. Why the hell not? Taking his time in his approach. Approaching now. Oh, that is perfection. And it's really, really getting ugly for Carlton. Even more so than earlier in the quarter. Earlier in the game, I should say. 40-point lead. Almost at three-quarter time. Josh Dacos running off of halfback has been exceptional. Pendlebury as well. Nick Dacos sends it towards Jed Walter once again. Ball goes to ground. Side bottom amongst it. Jamara dribbles it along the deck. And he gets his first of the day. And that is three-quarter time. The destruction of the Carlton Football Club is not far away. It was not far away from being over, I should perfectly be honest in saying. 4 goals in that quarter to us, 3 in the previous. Carlton only with the 1 goal in the day. Your pain will soon be gone as this grand final is being wrapped up soon. Cripps gets chased down from behind. Murphy Reid, exceptionally done. Let's just think about this for a minute. Let's send it down the line. Walter is down there. We've got a few other players out the back. Nick Dacos is one of them. And he takes it. For a 9th disposal and a first goal, he's hit the post from directly in front. Turns out Nick Dacos is not good at absolutely everything in football. And Jagger Smith with... he's actually gotten a bit of the ball in this one so far today. Blues just working it up the line. Brackets McGovern. Has it at half back. Kicks it down towards Zach Bailey. And he takes a very good mark. Been quiet today, Zach Bailey. But Josh Dacos has done his bit. And that is a good mark by Dan Houston in front of Jesse Motlop. Let's send it back down the line. Banfield and Haynes, the former Blue, or the former Giant, I should say, does a good job in spoiling that one. Switkowski once again takes a good contested mark. But Chad Warner, who, to be perfectly honest, hasn't really seen it today. He's had 1 disposal. We're going to get him, or at least try to get him a goal today. But I feel like this kick is not good, and it's not. 8-6 plays 1 straight. Scotty Pendlebury in surely what would be his last game. We're going to have a barrel. I don't know how many games he has played at this point of his career, but he's actually been quite good today. 5 disposals. Not going to be a goal. But Jed Walter will sit under it and have a shot at a 4th. 8 disposals, 7 contested marks. 7 marks in total as well, actually. And possibly a 4th. That's no good. Although it won't affect the score too much. We have been absolutely dominant today. 49-point lead right now. Darcy Moore from behind can't get a fist into the hands of Harry Mackay as Scott Pendlebury almost gave away a 50-meter penalty. We get the intercept mark via Lockie Schultz. And we play on quickly. Walter can't take the mark on this occasion. Now we've got to chase after it. Side bottoms over the top. And it's a trip. I have not seen too many trips given this year, to be perfectly honest. Walter kicks it forward. If this bounces through for a goal, it's not going to in the end. Doesn't matter. But Collingwood are the 2028 AFL champions. And I've just realised I got the Steam notification that we won a match without giving away a free kick, which is nice. Can't believe that just happened. But congratulations, Collingwood. And the Norm Smith medalist for this one surely is Jed Walter. You'd have to think it is. And it is Jed Walter, as we thought it would be. Exceptional performance. I think King kicked 3 goals in the end. Kicked a few behinds, but was still exceptional in setting the foundation of that dominant Collingwood performance. And Fly McRae getting his second Jock McHale medal. Darcy Moore, 2-time Premiership captain now. And the Premiership Cup, here we go. Going to be lifted by a legendary Collingwood name in Darcy Moore. And those Magpies flock to the stage to lift the cup. And what a performance that was. We actually didn't kick any goals in the final quarter, funnily enough, but we absolutely dominated Carlton in this one. 3 goals, 2 to Jetty Walter. Charlie Curnow with the only goal for Carlton. George Hewitt actually got a bit of the ball as well. Nick Dacos, Harley Reid, Pendles getting a lot of it. But who got the best on-ground votes? Jetty Walter, Switkowski, and Lockie Schultz. I did think Scotty Pendlebury was probably a little bit stiff, but a phenomenal performance. We've got $6.7 million in the bag. Scotty Pendlebury, I should say, surely is retiring. He's 40 years old, for God's sake, and he's played 505 games. Let the man retire. And George Hewitt wins the Brownlow medal. Jordan Dawson, 24 votes. Tom Green, 24. Where is Murphy Reid? Murphy Reid ended up with 21. So not far behind. Phil Thorpe and Walter tied with the Coleman, as we know. I was going to say Tommy Atkins won the Rising Star, but that's Theodore Atkins. Different guy. Had a very good season, actually, funnily enough. Darcy Moore finishes as an All-Australian once again. Jed Walter as well. And that's basically it. There's only Brisbane and Port Adelaide to go. I'm going to be doing Brisbane next. I'm going to try and get it out before the AFL Grand Final, but I don't think I'll be able to. But if it is out, happy days. If not, I do apologise. If not, it'll be out on Monday. So Jetty Walter, 54 goals, leads the AFL in the goals at the end of the total season. Jamara with 41, Darcy Moore with the 40 goals from centre half back was incredible. Here are your leading disposal getters. Charlie Curnow with the 86 behinds. Jed Walter with the 82, but he did kick 15 more goals. Very, very impressed with how this one went. Did take a little bit longer than I expected, but I'm still very, very happy, especially ending with a 25-game winning streak. That is absolutely unbelievable. But thank you very much for watching up until this point. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and until next time, I'll see you then. That doesn't make any sense. I butchered the outro, but never mind. Bye!